Hello, I'm Mike Lewellen. I just heard Tom Cotter say that he wanted people who had bought cars off of Barn Find Hunters to send in a video. So I found my MGTD on episode 70 of Barn Find Hunters. It was in Reedville, Virginia, of a recent episode that Tom did. I own 5 MGs now, the TD being the 5th one. I began a restoration on an MGA over 20 years ago, and I'm still working on it. Actually, the MGA is right here. I'm doing a frame off on it, and the body is over there. But I've kind of put that on hold because I got a TD. When I was 16 years old, a friend of mine bought an MGTD down a couple streets away from me, and that's when I very first saw a TD. And I've wanted one all my life, and I'd never been able to afford one. That's why I did the MGA, because I never could afford a TD. So but this one came up. I saw it on Haggerty, and I jumped on it. I called Mike at Asheboro Ford and talked to him and made the deal and shipped it here. So I was hoping that I wasn't going to have to remove the engine. But the engine was locked up. I tried to free it up, spent 2 weeks bumping the crank and stuff, and it wouldn't free up. So I ended up pulling the engine. The engine's now at the machine shop, and it's going to be totally rebuilt. New pistons, polish the crank for sure, and a bunch of other things. So the engine will be rebuilt and redone. My intent is to just get the car drivable. I'm not going to do it frame off. I just want to be able to drive this car. So, but as you can see, one thing leads to another. I took the fender off because the pedal box the TDs have a chronic problem with the pedal box. And sure enough, the shaft and the pedal box, the shaft is all right here. And this shaft, if you could tell, is significantly worn. The bushings are all messed up. And so I'm getting a new shaft and new bushings. Once I took the fender off, then it revealed some bad rust areas. I knew they were there when I bought the car, actually. So I'm patching those, and I'm going to clean those up while I've got it off. I wasn't planning on doing that at this time, but like I said, one thing leads to another. I have pulled the transmission out, of course, had to. Painted it and cleaned it all up. I'm hoping I don't have to do anything to the transmission. It's pretty much the way it came out of the car, just cleaned up. I did have to take the gas tank off, of course, and I found a local radiator shop that could dip it. I bought the cleansing compounds that Moss Motors sells, and I was going to etch it and dip it and do all that stuff. So now that I've got the radiator shop dipping it, I can now just hopefully just etch it and seal it, and we'll be okay. The etching and sealing process will clean up pinholes if you get it. I've been pulling off, of course I pulled off several of the pieces off of the engine, and I've been painting them up. I've been real surprised, or real pleased rather, with how the chrome has cleaned up. The chrome is cleaned up extremely well. My understanding, this car was inside. Tom found it inside a building with 43 other cars, and so the chrome was in good shape. A little elbow grease, and the chrome cleans up. I've cleaned up the grill. I've just painted up this stuff. This is the water pump and a few other things that I'm just cleaning up and painting just to freshen things up a little bit. I should get the motor back in probably another 3 to 4 weeks, I'm hoping. Once I get that, I'll start putting the car back together. By that time, I should have the fuel tank done and the patching on the sides. I'm just gonna spray paint over the patches, the patches that I'm welding in, and I'm not doing a first-class paint job or anything like that. Like I said, I just want to drive the car. The car came with no speedometer. I have found one on eBay, so I've got the speedometer go back in it. So when I get my engine back and get it put in, I'm looking forward to driving it. And I don't think it'll be an everyday driver, but it'll be a frequent driver. I'm just going to start driving this car and then jump back on the MGA and get it finished and painted, and it will have a first-class paint job when I get done. So I also own an MGC, which is in the back corner. You can't even see it anymore. It's a basket case. It's a rare car. It's a 1968 MGC with an automatic transmission, which they didn't make very many of those. And a year or so ago, I picked up an MGB GT, which was in Russellville. Some guy had it parked at his house for 20 years, so I got it for a very good price and brought it over here and have it parked in my next to my barn, to my wife's chagrin, I might add. So, but I'm very excited. I watch Haggerty and Barn Find Hunters on a regular basis, and I'm glad to share what I've done with the car I found on Barn Find Hunters. Thanks.